If you haven't heard, Bayonetta 3 has been going through a lot of drama lately, which we now know has been a complete lie. Alright guys, before we get into this, my goal is to hit 10k subscribers by the end of the year, and I see a lot of you are new here. If you like daily content, you like these styles of videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button. So we are right now in the thick of the biggest time of the year in terms of big AAA video game releases. One of the biggest ones that is coming out this year is a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and that is Bayonetta 3. I absolutely love the Bayonetta series, so I am very much looking forward to Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. I actually have the Masquerade Edition coming in. Hopefully it gets here for the release date on October 28th. But this game has been involved in a pretty big controversy over the last couple of weeks or so. Something that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I decided not to because it seemed a little bit off as to what was going on. Now, if you haven't heard, the voice actor for Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3 is Jennifer Hale. It is a new voice actor. The original Bayonetta person that has been doing all of the other games was Helena Taylor, who was off of the project this time. And back on October 15th, she put out some Twitter videos that went absolutely viral. Almost 10 million views. I think it's at like 9.9 million views on it right now. And she was calling people to boycott Bayonetta 3. And the reasoning behind that was because she claimed that Platinum Games and Nintendo offered her $4,000 to be the voice of Bayonetta, a role that she was already previously known for. She had done a great job on the other games, but she had said Platinum Games came to her and said, we are going to give you $4,000 to do the role of Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3, which is absolutely a slap in the face for anybody who has helped create a franchise that has sold a ton of copies, has made multiple millions of dollars. It's not the biggest franchise in the world, Bayonetta, but it has definitely been a successful game. And everybody instantly jumped on the bandwagon as going, let's go boycott Bayonetta 3. Helena Taylor is telling the truth. Everything she is saying is completely truthful, and we need to pile on and make sure that we are all outraged about the stuff that she is saying within her Twitter video. So if you haven't seen it, here are the tweets. There's a thread of multiple different videos where she's going over her accounts as to what happened and how she's having trouble paying all of her bills and everything because she was only being offered that slap in the face, $4,000 to do the voice of Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3. And honestly, she says a bunch of stuff here. It is a little bit unhinged. It's a little bit crazy, some of the things that she was saying, which had me step back for a second and think to myself, there is a lot more to this story than what she is saying. And I really wanted to come out and see what the total story was, kind of hear back from what Platinum had to say, and then kind of weigh both accounts and come to my own conclusion as to which side I think was the truthful side. Because unless they started posting screenshots of contracts or just putting the contract out there to prove one of them was telling the truth or not, that's pretty much what you would have to do in terms of deciding what side of the argument you wanted to be on. So I waited, and then we got more information about this. And this was via a Bloomberg article from Jason Schreier. I guess got some more information, did some more investigation into this topic. And they came out here and said, in case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to two people familiar with the negotiations, as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Here's where their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio. The people were asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss the private contract negotiations, which would make this more in line to her being offered around $15,000 in order to actually be the voice of Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3, which obviously $4,000 versus $15,000, that is a big discrepancy on what side you think is telling the truth or not, which ends up being about $750 an hour, which is a good amount of money to do 20 hours of voiceover work. And really, no matter how you want to slice it, I feel like that is pretty much the industry standard, maybe even a bit above it. We'd have to get some more information from other voice actors out there of what they think about $15,000 for 20 hours of work. But all in all, it's really not a story if they offered $15,000. It wasn't a slap in the face. It isn't something that people would think that they were doing wrong by offering that amount of money. Now, after this article came out, people were on each side of the fence. Do we believe Platinum Games or do we believe Helena Taylor? In my opinion, after this article came out from Bloomberg, I was believing Platinum Games, mainly because if you logically think about everything, you sit back rather than just going into crazy fake outrage mode right away, you would sit back and think that $3,000 to $4,000 to do the entire Bayonetta 3, offering that to a voice actor who has done this work already for the first 2 games, which were a success, people recognize her name and people recognize Bayonetta, would make absolutely no sense for Kamiya and for Platinum to go out and do that. There's just no logical reasoning why they would do that. If they didn't want to work with her, why would they spit in her face and offer the $4,000 knowing that it could turn into this crazy PR nightmare? And then the other side, $3,000 to $4,000 per session makes a ton more sense. So you would think maybe in her video she was withholding information, and when she said they offered her $4,000, what she didn't say was that they were offering her multiple sessions of work. In fact, I put this tweet out the day after her videos came out and said, I love Bayonetta, and Bayonetta 3 is one of my most anticipated games this year, but yeah, Platinum and Kamiya seem to have a history of weird stuff from Babylon's Fall to Scalebound. Interested to see Platinum's side of the story as well. And that was something that I think is a lot of people were thinking about once she came out, was Platinum has done some weird stuff. We know about Scalebound. We know about Babylon's Fall. We've heard about and we've seen the stuff with the Wonderful 101 with the Kickstarter. They have done some weird stuff. That is a 100% correct. But at the end of the day, just because somebody comes out on a Twitter video, you still have to sit back and look at it as, does this make sense? Is she telling the truth, or is she lying and trying to go viral, which she did, in putting out this information to get people to boycott Bayonetta 3. And we now know from her own words, from her own tweet, that she was 100% lying in that video, as she put out a new thread saying this: "It has come to my attention that some people are calling me a liar and gold digger. I feel the need to defend myself and my reputation in the industry. See thread." Which is interesting because the first tweet she posts under that says, "As I posted on part 3 of my video thread, I explained that their first offer was too low. That offer was $10,000 total. Remember, this is a $450 million franchise, not counting merchandise. I then wrote in Japanese to Hideki Kamiya asking for what I was worth. I thought that as a creative, he would understand. He replied saying how much he valued my contribution to the game and how much the fans wanted me to voice the game. I was then offered an extra $5,000. $10,000, $5,000, $15,000. You put it all together, the Bloomberg article seemed to be spot on. She says here, but I declined to voice the game. I then heard nothing from them for 11 months. They then offered me a flat fee to voice some lines for $4,000. Any other lies, such as $4,000 for 5 sessions, or total fabrication. There was not extensive negotiations. I've also been informed of ridiculous fiction, such as I asked for $250,000. I am a team player. I was just asking for a fair living wage in line with the value that I bring to the game. I was paid a shockingly low £3,000 total for the first game, a little more for the second. I wanted to voice her. I have drummed up interest in this game ever since I started on Twitter in 2011. But let's listen to Helena's words straight out of her mouth, so you can compare what she tweeted out there, where she initially actually got offered $15,000. That was the offer that should have been the focus of this video if she was actually upset with it. But here's what she says.
And what did they think this was worth? What did they offer to pay me? The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US.
So there you have it. She was completely lying. The $4,000 she's mentioning in that video is what she says right here. They offered her $4,000 to voice some lines after she had declined the initial $15,000 and then hadn't heard from them for 11 months. We have no idea what the $4,000 was going to be. Like, how many lines were they going to pay her for $4,000? Were they paying her $4,000 for one session, for doing a couple lines here and there? If so, then that's completely normal and probably completely fine. So all in all, I have to say that this was just an absolutely insane situation that everyone jumped on right away without actually knowing all of the facts as to what the situation was. I understand. I get it. People want to be outraged. People want to put out videos. People want to talk about it because it is a hot topic. Completely understand that. But when somebody does stuff like this, it definitely makes it much harder for people to believe anything else that gets put out. She made up a complete lie. I don't know why she would want to do that, why she would want to throw away her entire reputation and pretty much, I'd say, any chance of getting another voice acting job within this industry, because who would ever want to hire somebody like that again, knowing that they are going to try and go out and ruin your game, get people to boycott it, even though there are tons of other people working on this game. And whether you think the amount of money is enough or not, whether you think $15,000 is still too little, I think those points are completely relevant. People were saying this brought up more discussion about the entire voice acting community and whether they are being compensated properly. And sure, that is a great conversation to have, but this honestly has nothing to do with it. This is literally one person going out of their way to lie and try to defame an entire video game and people working on it because she was unhappy about something or another. It just goes back to the entire thing of really don't believe everything you read on Twitter. Don't believe many things that you read on Twitter because a lot of it is definitely going to be made up to get clicks, to get those views and all that type of stuff. And whether you're a Bayonetta fan or not, this is just something you don't want to see within the video game industry, is people going out of their way to make up things to hurt games, to hurt the industry, and to overall hurt the community of the style of job that they do, which is going to be the voice acting community. It is probably going to be harder now for voice actors who are actually getting mistreated to now come out and talk about the mistreatment that they are receiving. But that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you think about this entire Bayonetta 3 thing and the Hellena Taylor situation. If you're new here, you enjoyed what you saw, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.